The role of Israel has become extraordinarily volatile in world politics, and today there's news of Benny Steinmetz arrested in Greece and David Cameron's comments about potential sanctions on Israeli ministers. These stories reveal interesting issues of corruption, diplomacy, political accountability within and beyond Israel's borders. But as ever, it's not so much about trying to find the smoking gun as looking at the characters of people who are associated with the regimes that are under the microscope. So, in the same way that we find corrupt Russians because the Kremlin itself is corrupt, so we find corrupt Israelis, it seems. Steinmetz, an Israeli mining billionaire, was arrested in Athens because of a Romanian warrant linked to a land grab scandal, and the Greek police acted based on a European court's decision, but Steinmetz was released on bail with travel restrictions. The long-standing case involves allegations of corruption, land misappropriation, with European countries, including Greece, previously refusing extradition over concerns about Romanian prison conditions. Steinmetz's lawyer condemned the arrest, framing it as an abuse of process and a contradiction of prior judicial rulings that had allowed him free movement. This raises questions about international legal cooperation, extradition, the balance between judicial decisions within EU member states and shared obligations to uphold European court rulings. And it's about a potential impact on the diplomatic relations between Greece, Romania and Israel, given that Steinmetz remains a controversial yet influential figure. The fact that this comes at the same time as Cameron has disclosed his intentions to sanction Israeli ministers Bezalel Smotrich and Itamar Ben Gvir for their support of aggressive settler actions and the obstruction of Gaza aid, I think is significant. Cameron's proposal included an asset freeze and travel ban specifically targeting Israeli officials supporting extremism. He has labelled Labour's arms ban on Israel as itself flawed, arguing that Israel's right to self-defense was crucial given regional threats, particularly from Iran, and he underscored the importance of accountability, stating that supporting Israel does not imply unconditional backing of all its policies. But how these issues reflect on Israel's relationship with the UK and how Israel's relationships with the broader EU political dynamics continue is, I think, interesting, given Israel's determination under Benjamin Netanyahu to pursue these wars of retaliation, aggression against targets in Lebanon and continuing to target Gaza. The impact of Cameron's comments on Labour and their approach to Israeli diplomacy, as well as potential shifts within the G7 regarding sanctions on Israel, I think also will be important in the coming weeks. These developments illustrate the challenges of balancing national interests, the legal precedents, the development of ethical foreign policies, and this should provide a well-rounded view of the current situation, weaving together the themes of law, politics, international relations. But, you know, there is no point at which you can put your finger on something and say, this is the solution or this is the situation. The situation is ongoing, it's evolving, it's fluid, and it's interesting that only now Cameron comes out with something that, frankly, should have been actioned when he was proposing it. It's a great shame it wasn't actioned. We would have done much better to have signalled intense disapproval of the actions of Ben Gvir, particularly, and his championing of these illegal settlements in the West Bank, which which have been ongoing for too long, and which, of course, in many ways lie behind a lot of the Gaza situation itself. Had Benjamin Netanyahu ensured that Gaza was properly monitored on October the 7th last year, rather than deploying security agents from the Gaza area to the West Bank settlement areas, then presumably Hamas would not have made its inroads into Israeli society, would not have been able to conduct its terrorist advance, and much of the situation that we've got today would not have happened. A lot of this comes down to Netanyahu's government tolerating and indeed encouraging the settler aberration. It needs to be flagged up, and you know, rather than these sort of general fiats which only make governments feel good about themselves, it doesn't actually contribute anything positive. I think Cameron's initiative would have been a good one.